Hi, I thought I would talk a little bit about our textbook, the They Say, I Say with readings. And my thinking is that you can use this book, the readings, um, as source material for the things that you're writing, at least in the last two papers. Um, the first paper, of course, is the sourced argument, and it's no longer than 1,000 words. And if you were to go to 1,000, a little more than that, okay, fine, but it shouldn't go on forever and ever. You want to have it under control. And then the last paper, of course, is a serious bit of business because I'd like it to be a good academic paper on the social science subject with the right kind of citation and development and all that. Now, if you look at the textbook, right, it's in two parts. The first part is the They Say, I Say part, and then the second part is the readings. Um, I'd like to just kind of talk a little bit about sort of the philosophy behind the They Say, I Say. I think that's something worth knowing. You've probably heard it before. You probably heard it in English 111G. But as a college student, you're entering into something called an academic discourse. That there's a subject that's been researched and that expert opinion has been assembled on, and the conversation is going on even before you start it, right? Um, I always think about on the 2-pound piece in England, on the reed, there's an inscription that says standing on the shoulders of giants, as if um, Newton and these people were not able to do what they did without the other people that came before them, and that's true. And so to some extent, this discussion is about the other people that have come before you, and then you're entering into that discussion. Um, what I'll do is I'll kind of talk about the shape of this first paper, and then I'll talk briefly about the readings and how you might use them. Uh, the paper probably has 3 or 4 sections to it. It's going to have an introductory paragraph. The introductory paragraph uh, will state your subject. Probably it will state your claim, what you believe about the subject. It will tell us why the subject is important. So if you look at that first section of the textbook on the They Say, I Say section, they talk about something called so what, right? And it's the idea that you always have to answer the so what question. Why is this subject worth researching? Why is it worth discussing? A couple of other things you probably should talk about your intentions for the paper in this first paragraph. And you need to preview your content. You need to kind of give the reader a sense of where you're going and what the reader can expect. So you'll be creating expectations for the paper. Um, in the second paragraph, right, you'll transition into your source material, and you'll discuss probably 2 sources. I don't think you'll need any more that you want to sort of summarize and eventually respond to. So probably after that introductory paragraph, you'll write 2, 3, no more than 4 paragraphs capturing what other people say about the subject, and probably it'll be um, ideas that you agree with, right? So that material will be summarized, and you should paraphrase rather than quote directly. But if you do quote directly, you always need to explain what you believe the quote means, because the reader will perhaps not see the meaning that you see in the quote. So you've got to guide the reader. Also, that helps develop the ideas and all that sort of thing. And you should do that sort of thing with statistics as well. That when you have a number, you have to tell your reader what you believe the number means. All right, now let's say that you've captured the ideas in your source material. Um, so far, you really haven't written anything of your own, really. Of course, you've got the introduction. Of course, you've captured the flavor, the gist of the sources. But in that third section, now you take those ideas and you respond to them yourself. You talk about how they fit together, um, why you selected those ideas. You make them clear, and you talk about what you believe about the issue, and you use the sources to support what you believe about the issue in this third section. And perhaps as you're writing, you're also going to think of other things that you'll include to support it. That's probably the paper this time around, although it's possible where you can reiterate your main ideas and that kind of thing. One of the things that you might also do in this third or fourth section of the paper, depending on how it's happening for you, is you might address naysayers. You might address those people that really wouldn't agree with your claim, wouldn't really agree with your argument, and address those naysayers as best you can. Um, at this stage, it's more important that you address a naysayer and perhaps you acknowledge a good point, even if you don't have an answer for it, and you move on. But it's more important that you address the naysayers than it is um, that you don't do that. So see if you can address people that might not agree with you. Now, if you look in the second part of um, the book has 5 areas, and what I'm thinking is that if you don't have a subject that's a powerful subject for you, um, you might write about is higher education worth the price and take a couple of sources from there and capture those sources in summary and then respond to them and use those to create your argument. Or is popular culture actually good for you? And again, the same sort of thing. Number 3 has been really popular in our campus is fast food, the new tobacco. That's a good one. Why does it matter who wins the big game is all about athletics and the kind of amazing attention that's paid to athletic competition in this culture. And then finally, what's up with the American dream? That's a really powerful one. And I was watching Tavis Smiley yesterday evening and had a rapper, Killer Mike, on there, and it was just an amazing discussion, actually a 2-part discussion about the American dream and opportunity and racism and that sort of thing. So anyway, what's up with the American dream is a really powerful one. I don't want to go on and on forever about this, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about the text and to tell you that the first part of the text, the chapters are all about the they say, I say conversation. The conversation that's going on even before you arrive, the conversation that you're going to contribute to, that you're going to join in. And then the second part of the textbook, of course, is about readings that you could use for source material. Now, my thinking is that if you find something early on in this first week of class, it's possible that you can use it for the subject can be used for the entire course. So you'll need to do an interview. An interview is end up being about 3 pages, and it'll have some introductory material that will be compositional in nature. Then it'll have 5 or 6 questions and answers that you'll get from your interviewee, and then you'll have a sort of conclusion where you sort of interpret the interview or you sort of present the interview to your reader, and I'll talk more about that. But again, it's about 3 pages, and it could be on one of these subjects. It could be on fast food, and we'll talk about who would be appropriate interviewees, and there's all sorts of ways to go in that. And then the third week of class, you'll have to do an observation, and again, it's a short paper. It's 750 to 1,000 words, and it'll be based on what you observe in about a 20 to 30-minute period at a research site that you'll select. That has something to do with one of your subjects, or perhaps a brand new subject, right? Then there'll be a couple of pages on something I call a research design, and what you'll do is you'll imagine a kind of study, and I give you an outline, a very special form to fill in for this 4th assignment that communicates the content of that proposed study. I'll have to talk more about that, and that's not the place here. The 5th paper, though, is a paper that you're used to writing, right? It's an academic, secondary source research paper. It should be on a social science subject of interest to you, probably something related to social justice, probably something related to the conversations that are going on in our country right now, going on around the world. And that particular piece we'll work on consistently so that eventually these 5 weeks sort of add up to that piece. It's going to be about 5 pages long, and it will have these sections I'm talking about. It will have a strong introduction, be very formal. It'll have a discussion of the research, a summarization. It'll have your response to that research, and then your argument itself. So I'll end here. I've gone 10 minutes. Thanks.